Okay, we will continue this session, but before this session, as we were talking the whole day, how to also advocate some of the recommendations and how to, let's say, have a youth impact on politics and decision making. We wanted maybe before we start with the next session also to put, let's say, a bigger picture on different processes. And on 5th of July will be a Berlin summit as a part of the Berlin process. And we also have some, let's call it, creative ideas how to use opportunity of this event and to use some of work that you were doing or we were doing during these 2 days and to combine with also Berlin process and the Western Balkan Youth Forum. Before I say how to do it, let's also hear this famous lady which everyone probably recognize with 1 minute as a welcome speech for the Western Balkan Youth Forum, which happened on 29th of June, which means 2 days ago. And then I will say how we can use also this work and combine with the Berlin process and Berlin summit. So let's hear this 1 minute.
Sehr geehrter Herr Generalsekretär des Westbalkan-Jugendbüros, sehr geehrter Herr Generalsekretär des Deutsch-Französischen Jugendwerks. Vor allem aber herzlich willkommen, liebe Jugendliche aus den 6 Westbalkanstaaten. Es ist mir eine große Freude, dieses Jugendforum zu eröffnen. Noch schöner wäre es natürlich, Sie heute alle gemeinsam in Berlin zu begrüßen. Entscheidend aber ist, Sie machen sich Gedanken und arbeiten daran, dass der westliche Balkan jungen Menschen möglichst gute Perspektiven bietet. Und Tatsache ist, das Westbalkan-Jugendbüro RÜKO ist ein großer Erfolg. RÜKO hat bereits tausende Jugendbegegnungen durchgeführt. Und es freut mich besonders, dass jetzt auch ein Programm für einen Schüleraustausch beginnt. Das ist ein großartiges Projekt, das wir als Bundesregierung nicht nur begrüßen, sondern auch unterstützen. Das Deutsch-Französische Jugendwerk zeigt seit vielen Jahren, was Schüleraustausch bewirken kann. Wer einmal in einer Gastfamilie im Ausland gelebt und Einblicke in den Alltag des Austauschpartners gewonnen hat, wird das wohl kaum vergessen und diese Erfahrung auch nicht missen wollen. Schüleraustausch ist etwas, das Nähe schafft, das Verständnis und Vertrauen wachsen lässt und genau darauf bauen auch eine gute Nachbarschaft und die Zusammenarbeit zwischen Ländern auf. In wenigen Tagen werde ich mit den Staats- und Regierungschefs des westlichen Balkans im Rahmen einer Videokonferenz zusammenkommen. Uns geht es darum, Möglichkeiten zu erörtern, wie wir Ihre Region enger untereinander vernetzen können, auch damit Sie bessere Zukunftschancen haben. Ein gemeinsamer Markt ist hierfür von großer Bedeutung. Schon allein, weil er das Reisen in der Region erleichtert. In den nächsten Tagen werden Sie selbst in Ihren Arbeitsgruppen Empfehlungen erarbeiten. Ich freue mich bereits auf Ihre Berichte, die wir in unsere Beratungen einfließen lassen werden. Ich wünsche Ihnen interessante Begegnungen und anregende Diskussionen. Vielen Dank und alles Gute.
As Madam Merkel mentioned, on 5th of July it will be this Berlin summit, and before that, on 4th and 5th of July, which means Sunday and Monday, these 6 working groups will continue with listing something that we called as a regional youth agenda. And this is a wonderful opportunity also to make a link with Prespa dialogue here. So our proposal is to have 2, let's say, direct links. One, we will see here also with Alba, Anna, Andrea, and other reporters how to basically the product of Prespa can be included or inputs for our 6 working groups of the Western Balkan Youth Forum. And then on the 5th of July, we will have direct presentation and discussion with Minister Roth from Germany and with representative, it will be the President of Montenegrin Parliament, Mr. Bečić, as 2 of them, one representing the local governments and one as organizer of the Berlin summit. And then afternoon, on 5th of July, this regional youth agenda will be also included in the meeting with head of states. So one result can be that we link through reporters and our 6 working groups what was discussed here, and to, let's say, jointly and in stronger way also try to influence further on during the Berlin summit. And the second thing, if you are interested and by some way not included in the Western Balkan Youth Forum, please contact me during the day and we can also involve you or send you invitations. So if you are also motivated, enthusiastic, then we can somehow directly involve you there. So there are 2 options, and I think good opportunity for us. And this Western Balkan Youth Forum is co-organized also with some of the people here from RAICO, FAJ, RCC, GIZ, etc. So that is also, I know that at least half of chairs of Western Balkan Youth Forum are here in Prespa, so that is also another link how to, let's say, utilize our work here and to have a little bit bigger impact later on during the Berlin summit. So this is just small PR, and connection I think is very also relevant when we talk about advocacy. So sorry for taking time, and if you are interested, please call me and we will include you also at the Western Balkan Youth Forum. Thank you.
Dear all, my name is Elma Bešlić, and I'm the president of the General Assembly and educator in the local youth organization Youth for Peace, coming from Bosnia and Herzegovina. It is my great pleasure to open the panel 3, Generations in Dialogue, Mechanism for Building a Culture of Youth Cooperation for Democratic and Economical Progress and Resilient Societies in the COVID-19 post-pandemic era. But before we start, I would like to invite Ms. Mila Carovska, Ministry of Education, to come and give us a speech.
Hello again today. Welcome for those that were not in the morning session. I must to share that we as a country, we need to be glad that we have a lot of friends. But not just friends that respect the sparkling friendship or instant friendship, but long-term friendship. And we have a lot of people that support us as a country, as a nation, in achieving strategic goal to be a country that we are now. That's why today I want to say thank you in the name of the government of Macedonia, to Mr. Erdhard Busek, who is a really good friend of our country. From 2002 to 2008, he was a special coordinator of Stability Pact of Southeastern Europe from 2000 to 2001, special representative of the Austrian government to the enlargement of the European Union. In 2006, appointed as advisor of the Macedonian government for the reform needed for achieving the European standards. Also mayor of Vienna and minister in the Austrian government. Also former vice chancellor of Austria. This means a lot to the country, but especially for us as a young politicians, that we have possibility to learn from his experience and today follow his steps and learning still from his speeches and recommendation that he is giving to us. Thank you. Please welcome.
Then I know when I have to end. First of all, Mrs. Minister, many thanks. That's really nice what you are doing. I'm really happy to be again here because I spent, I think, in the different positions I had, a lot of time here in the region and especially also in North Macedonia, or whatever the name was in the past, I have to say, because this was one of the battles I always had here, so I have a lot of understanding for your situation. But it's not necessary to speak about. I think partly a lot of talks about history have been. I want to speak about the future. And I think that's quite necessary that you are doing so. Future, what does it mean? Seen from my age, I'm a little bit after 80 years old, I think things are changing tremendously quick. I'm remembering the time where I got knowledge what politics is and what's the situation now and so on and so on. I think it was quite a different situation. I promise you one, it will even become quicker. It's coming quicker out of the situation of technology. We have the possibilities with the handies, with all these instruments we are using, and it's going quite quickly. May I say, it is a little bit on critiques, I say, we are still here also too much speaking about history, and we have to speak more about future. What are the challenges of the future? One is really touching you. I think sometimes we are mixing up European Union with Europe. The European Union is not Europe. It is only a part. And we have a lot of open questions concerning Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, looking here to the South Caucasian area and so on and so on. And we have problems not yet settled. The problem is the membership of your country and the others within the European Union. I'm in the moment campaigning for changing the way how to come in the European Union. I think it is a boring situation to wait until everybody is saying you have fulfilled the condition. I think I have the impression sometimes some European governments are living out of this to write down what you have not yet fulfilled. The reports are going in this direction. There's not a real impetus that you shall be as quick as possible. My proposal, and I'm fighting for this, and it's a little bit moving. I cannot name a date when it will happen. I think we shall take all the countries in immediately, and they have to sit on the table around, because this is the only chance that you are learning what it means to be a part of the European Union. The fulfilling of the conditions on social affairs, by law, in economy and so on, can come afterwards step by step. And may I say, don't tell it to others, I'm not quite sure that some members of the European Union have really fulfilled the conditions, if I'm looking to situations of some countries. I'm not dropping names, but it's up to your fantasy what I mean here. I think that's a reason you should be immediately in, because we have one problem. This problem is Europe. Europe, my friends, is only 7% of the global population. Europe is still a little bit more than 20% of the economic outcome, which is quite good. This figure will go down. Why? China is coming up, India is coming up, maybe some African states are coming up, and so on and so on. We are losing importance and we will be marginalized. We have one chance, but it is very much depending also on you and the young generation. I think we have some capacity on brain. That means to invent some things, to develop some things, and so on and so on. And I think this is a real challenge, and we have to do it as broad as possible. And I think it's not possible that we are waiting until all the problems are fulfilled. There are some governments, don't drop names, who have a fantasy to invent problems which are not really existing. That's also happening. And here we have to be very critical. I'm asking you to be aggressive as possible to the member states of the European Union to bring you and the other countries in. We need you in reality. We need you, has to be said. Because we need this fantasy which is here at home, the cultural background, the social affairs, and so on and so on. As an Austrian, I may confess, if we are a rich country, comparatively we are a rich country, in Austria everybody is convinced we are poor, but it is not true. I think this has also happened by the opening, by the downfall of the Iron Curtain, by the better relations, by the downfall of Yugoslavia also, because we made a lot of business. And here you have the right to blame the other Europeans that they are winners on this situation. And if they are not doing it, we will be all losers. I want to touch one problem, which is a very big one. This is immigration here existing. May I say, concerning this economic situation and improvement, my country and others, we were winner by immigration. I think what we have to do is to turn around. I think you have to build up groups campaigning for your citizens or maybe former citizens to come back. With which possibilities? I think it was already touched. I think you have to invent new possibilities for making business and to ask those who have more experience, who are better trained, to come back and to help you. In one country out of this group, it has happened as they declared independence. That was Kosovo. There was a certain time where the Kosovars moved back from other parts of Europe, having the feeling now we have a chance to build up our country. For the moment, it's not so much happening, for sure, because they have difficulties to come visa-free and so on, which in reality are horrible situations. But I think here I'm asking you, I think, to develop some aggressiveness of development and whole fantasy. I think you have a lot of chances working here in this direction. Because Europe needs you. Why? Geopolitically. Why geopolitically? I think you are on one part where at the border of what we are calling Europe, you have a lot of difficulties. A lot of difficulties in the Black Sea area, a lot of difficulties in North Caucasus, a lot of difficulties looking eastwards, and so on, a lot of difficulties in the eastern part of the Mediterranean Sea, we are quite close. And I think a question which was interesting enough, not touched here, but is a huge problem, we have to develop a system where we are able to keep peace. For the moment, my dear friends, and I'm not happy about such messages, the dangers that we are getting more wars is for sure existing. Not the wars of my past in the Second World War or the First World War. I think now we have cyber war and such things. We are producing currently more weapons than ever. Weapons have characteristics. If you are collecting weapons, sometimes somebody will come and say, now let's use it. And we'll shoot each other or we'll damage our situation. And so far, I think here we need your countries also on board. NATO is a kind of assistance, yes, but I think we have to develop more systems here to keep peace, because that's a precondition of a good development of our world. So far, I may tell you, you have a lot of chances, but I'm asking you, and I repeat this word, to develop a kind of aggressiveness in favor of yourself. I think you owe it. It is a very good event by the types of people who are collected here, and you have to use all the opportunities and connections which are for sure possible. I think the future has to be yours, but you have to take it. I think this is quite necessary. And here an additional remark. I was listening also to some reports. There were some research done and here to develop also some results. May I say, I'm getting on my table still a huge bulk of papers from think tanks. I have to confess to you, I'm fed up about this bulk of papers. I think think tanks know everything, but the real question is, who is doing it? I think what we have to develop is do tanks, not think tanks, here quite necessary. And I'm asking you to do this, to develop these do tanks. I think they are all clever on paper, but we can only be clever if we are doing something. And so far you invited to do something. What? To take the future in your hands. I wish you all the best, and I can be sure, as long as I'm alive, I will do everything to support you here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Busek. I would like now to invite Monika Zajkova, member of the Assembly of the Republic of the North Macedonia and member of the Parliamentary Youth Caucus, to address us.
Thank you. Dear Ms. Doris, dear Mr. Erhard, dear panelists, dear friends. It is my real honor to share my introductory words here with you in Oteševo at the Preспа Forum Dialogue. The aim of this forum is to increase the dialogue and collaboration and also build friendship not only between the countries but also between the ordinary citizens and especially our youth. The COVID-19 pandemic has truly shown us that there is a necessity of establishing cooperation and communication between the countries and the citizens, even in regular times, but even more in a time of crisis. Knowing that a country has international friendships and true friends was a moment that was helping us in a way to overcome the crisis and represented a relief while we were waiting for moments like this to come. Having the chance to address you here at this offline event makes me realize how much we were all missing these times, and on the other hand makes me aware that the only way to economic resilience and democratic progress is the near future is establishing the needed dialogue. Knowing that we have way more things in common that make us similar rather than are really dividing us, we have to remember that the intergenerational dialogue is a very powerful tool in bridging the gaps. The youth, as a part of our countries, has to finally get the deserved place on the table where the decisions are made. While achieving this, the youth also have to emphasize the richness that the experience of the other generation brings to the process and work together on achieving the mutual goals. Those goals, including focusing more on the fields like youth policies, building a culture of dialogue and debate, and of course the European integration. We all know that now our biggest motorway is named friendship. So let's all agree that we really do need a friendship among the region, and for a friendship you always need efforts of all the involved sides. The youth have shown that there is a strong will and going forward and building more prosperous future. That is why most of the international agreements are supported by the youth, but the youth also wants to see the practical benefits and results from those agreements. Recent statistics show us that around 22% of the youth in the region has total disbelief in the political life, and they are completely disregarded and apathetic. This shows us the need of this kind of forums are essential and can be used as a good basis for elaborating why the youth people have to be involved in the public sphere and in the society challenges. The Preспа Forum also shows that North Macedonia can be a really good host and a sincere friend to the international community. At the same time, we as a nation have shown that we are ready to take difficult steps that will lead us to better times and take concrete steps for making a regional cooperation and good neighborhood relations. But no one can say that a progress is possible if the young people are not the ones leading that progress. We all say that the future belongs to the youth, and I totally agree with this, but I will just add that the youth is not only our future, but our presence as well. Let's work together on making the youth more vocal and more heard. Last but not least, the best way to predict the future is to create it. I stand for a future where the youth around me is active and is working on things that matter for them and also for their country as well. Thank you.
I would like to announce our next speaker. She's institution herself, a German politician and former member of European Parliament, Ms. Doris Pack.
Good afternoon. I'm here since this morning, and I was pleased to listen to you. But, as you said as well, you need facts. Do it, as my friend Erhard said. It's not easy, I know, to do it, because we have a lot of people who don't want that you do it. And sometimes you fear to do something because you are interested in your career here. And the problem is that sometimes in the region, perhaps also in our countries, but more in the region, your career depends on policy and party policy. And I think that should be ended. And what you did today, nobody asked anyone who is in which party. I think it was great. Nobody asked who is Albanian or who is a Macedonian, or who is what, who is a Slovenian or whatever. So I think this is what we need. A youth who work together despite their belonging to a nation. And if I say this, I remind you, this is the biggest problem in Bosnia-Herzegovina, because they are divided in 3 constituent people. And the politicians are misusing this for their own belonging, for their own electorate. They tell their electorate, the others are the enemies. You have to vote for me. There are 3 big bosses, and I can tell you, because I am following, as you know, these countries here, and especially also Bosnia-Herzegovina as rapporteur for a long time. Yeah, they do this because they want to stay in power and, frankly spoken, to make money. And this is very familiar in the region. It is really a high problem that the corruption in these countries is on all levels. And it is your presence and your future. You should fight for a clean government on all levels, starting from the local until the highest one. I think it's up to you. We cannot do it. Okay, we can make like this, so please stop it. But we cannot do anything. You should really show that it is your future which is in danger if you are not taken serious. It is your future. When they are old, you are still the ones who are suffering. And therefore, I think what I heard this morning made me happy is a little bit exaggerated, but made me, yes, happy, that you are the ones who have understood. And the problem is that after this time of pandemic, even the young generation is very much suffering. And they have not had the time in the last 1.5 years that they could intervene in policy, and a lot of things have not been done. And if you have listened to Mrs. Merkel now, she's proposing you to accept your proposals in the Forum. I can also say in 2015, she created the Balkan Summit because she understood at least that there is a need to bring the 6 countries together. But if you look to the results, it's RICO, okay. I don't think that it is really as good working as it should. I am always open. Huh? So I think, but it is existing. And I think if we look, there were promises after each summit. I remember the last in Sofia, the one. They were speaking on regional trade, on working together. Nothing has happened. And if you are not in this region, in the Western Balkans, are not ready to cross the border, who will invest here? Only to be in North Macedonia? Crazy. Only to be in Bosnia-Herzegovina? Crazy. Even Serbia, not. So I think this is something which you should in mind. And therefore, these countries need the youth. Most of you have been outside. You had the experience. But not everybody, and I see more people, young people, are not coming back, as you said. But listen, in 2030, there will be a senior home here, next countries, everywhere, because all the young people has left. And therefore, it is high time to do something, to give them a chance to build the country, to be their own constructors, architects of this country, and not seeing that others are doing nothing. Please believe me, I know what I'm speaking on because I'm working in the region since '89. I was nominated as president of the delegation for the European Parliament for Yugoslavia. I didn't know anything of the region, and I was told from my boss, he said, very good, so you don't have friends. Good. Okay, I don't have friends, but I started at zero and I learned, and I still can say my heart is in the country. It is not a Croatian one, not a Serbian one, not a Macedonian one, not a Bosnian one, not the Albanian one. It is a really Southeast European one. And therefore, every morning I look in the media. Every morning I'm following closely what's going on. And not every morning, but very often. I'm furious to see how the leading politicians are working here or not working here. Please believe me, that should also be in your interest, and I think I cannot do anything. I was in the European Parliament, and I made reports, and I was very strong. You know that I'm very outspoken, never say, you are nice if you are not nice. Huh? Even to Vučić and others, no? He even said the last time, that is the most hated woman in Serbia, for me. It was an honor. Huh? So I think you should now, in this region, I learned you should be open, you should be correct, you should not be partial, above all not political partial. You know that I am not a socialist, I belong to the party of Mrs. Merkel, and I think I'm in this region and I spoke to everybody here. And even people who are now in government, they were not in government when I met them. Mrs. Shekerinska, I remember. Huh? So I had always relations to everybody here who wanted. And therefore, you can believe me that I'm really interested to make your existence today and the future a little bit better. And I think we should urge your governments, at least I've just named something. We have to encounter criminal networks and corrupt elites in all areas, as I said before. Then improve the education system. It is important. Just going back to Bosnia-Herzegovina, there is still a school with 2 schools under one roof. Can you imagine? Bosnians here and Catholics here, Croats here? That is history from, I don't know, 200 years ago. I think this is crazy because they are living in the same country, they are working together, they are marrying together. So I think it is crazy. They are manipulated by the leaders of the party, and I think this should be ended. You need a better, everywhere, better education, and as a German I have to tell you, you need a dual system, a dual vocational system. So, but having a vocational system means you have to have businesses where you can learn, where you can be an apprentice. They are not here, they are not enough. But the problem is, who wants to invest here if it is not a Chinese or a Russian or a Turkey? Who wants from the Western European Union, who wants to invest here if he cannot or she cannot trust the judiciary? If it is clear that what they are earning, it's them, the land where they are building something is at least their own. So I think you should really understand that your systems, the justice systems in all of the countries have to be changed. Please take it in mind and make appeals to your politicians that this will happen once. Then you have at least we need in this region, how to say, advantageous environment for young entrepreneurs. You know, it's also in our countries, not everything is golden. But I think having now in this time, just with the digital revolution, having such a, how to say, a lot of very good studies all over Europe or America as well, and they cannot come home because they cannot make anything. They are not helped to make a little job. No. So I think this is necessary that it is taken really seriously. And then I think also what you have said this morning, you have to invest in society and support the population diversity. The whole countries are diverse. You know, even in Germany we have problems with the far right, which is also making us problems in the next elections, perhaps. So I think we should also think that we are everywhere some other. If I'm here, I'm another. If you come to me, you are the other. But we are the same. We are done by the same God. We are believing perhaps in another religion. But I think we should stay together and we should work together, because this country, not only North Macedonia, these countries, they are in the heart of European Union. And they are surrounded by members of the European Union. And then I can tell you, I was during, how long was it? During 25 years at least, I was furious when I saw how Greece was behaving vis-à-vis this country. And I was really one of the most happiest when it happened in 2018, this Prespा agreement. And then I was furious, and it was a precondition to start the negotiations, which have been promised to you in 2005, even before the Croats got it. And it was not possible to go forward. And then at least Macron, who was just new in the office, perhaps he had not the best people who were telling him what to do, he was against. And even the Netherlands followed him. It was a moment which is past. Then after this, the Bulgarians started, it's bad, seeing what they are doing now. They are playing with history. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if we in Germany would start with history? You cannot imagine. It is incredible. And I can tell you why is Bulgaria not happy being Bulgaria, having Northern Macedonia, as I have Bosnia-Herzegovina, whatever. It is nothing, how to say, yeah, we cannot understand it. It's not real. It is crazy. It is even stupid. But this stupidity makes you problems. You cannot start. And therefore, I just want to go a little bit in the direction of Erhard, because he spoke that we should bring you all in. Listen, this will not be the case so easily. I have another idea. I'm following closely the stability initiative to Southeast European stability. Gerald Knaus, you remember perhaps the name. Go on the internet, you find him. He has said, okay, why we don't try to bring them in the internal market? Because when we started the European Union, we were not the European Union. We were the Europäische Gemeinschaft. And before we were the Montanunion, which means we combined our industries. We made possible trade. So I think, why we are not doing this? That would give you the possibility to attract jobs and to give at least the people who have good studies outside come back, and to help to make the architecture of your democracy. So I think this is what we need, and I hope very much that it may be possible sooner than later. I just want to, because I was not only working on the Balkans in my life in the European Parliament, I was also heading the Education and Culture Committee, and I was the last rapporteur of Erasmus+. And I think we have so many possibilities which are open, because the Parliament made them open to all of you. But only North Macedonia and Serbia are taking really totally part. You can remember we have the new European Solidarity Corps. It is a follow-up of the former voluntary service. Then we have Erasmus+, with all the possibilities inside. Incredible. So I did it because, therefore, I can be so outspoken. Then we have the European Youth Week. We have the EU Aid Volunteers. Then we have the EU Youth Dialogue. And the Discover EU, we have a lot of things where you all are entitled to be with us, because it is your future as well as ours. So I think I just don't want to repeat everything what has been said this morning, and you are here now for a long time and listening all these speeches. I can see you, but I did it with you. Huh? Don't miss it. I was here. So I think we were also. I think on the paper is written something with generations. I think I saw it very late. But listen. My friend Erhard is 80. I'm 79. So can you imagine? We are really a generation which knows. Most of you were not on the world when I started here. So I think we are really friends. But we are not only friends. We try in all our possibilities, in all our different possibilities, to make people understanding. Because a lot of Europeans, also in the European Union, are not really aware of what is going on here. And therefore, I think we lost in the last years a lot. The only thing was the Balkan Summit, and in between the Commission forgot. Even they closed the eyes not to see what's going on. It's better not, because they have to react. So I think this is not what we want the EU. We want to be that they are helping you to become at least sooner and then later member. And I think I was just on Monday, Tuesday, I was in Brussels. The meeting was the EPP, and there I met on the floors. I met prime ministers of the region, head of the parliament of the region. Everybody was there to speak with the EU Commission. I was happy because at least something happens. But it is only speaking and shaking hands, and perhaps closing the eyes for the reality, and that makes me furious. And therefore, but nevertheless, I was at least a little bit happier that at least it seems that the consciousness of the need to be present here and to help you is more now in than before. So, and I can tell you what makes me really furious is that the Kosovars didn't get the visa-free regime. So Ukraine does have it, Georgia have it, all the other countries have it, and Kosovo doesn't have it. It fulfilled all criteria. The last one was that it makes the territory question with Montenegro. Everything is done. And nobody is moving forward. The Commission is in favor, the Parliament is in favor, but unfortunately the Council, the ministers, the governments are not in favor. So I think that is a shame. And so we lose the credibility. And now that most of the young people also in Kosovo are in favor to become a member, but I think if they see in which way we are acting or not acting, I think it is a shame. For me, it is a shame, and I think this should be ended because we should not measure with two measures, I think. And how it is? What is the? Can you tell me what is the reason that Kosovos cannot have visa-free? The people who comes to us, they are coming from here, they are coming from Albania, they are coming from Serbia, from everywhere. It doesn't hinder anybody if you are visa-free not to go or to stay. So I think this is what should be done in the next, as early as possible. And I think, just to mention, nobody speaks, when we speak on the Western Balkan, on your culture, on your films. I'm still the coordinator for the European Parliament for the film prize Lux. You know, we have films, 3 films, which are all subtitled in 24 languages, which means the whole world more or less can see them. And we have a lot of good films from this region, especially from here. And I remember two of your films. God exists, my name is Petrunia. Huh? It was Macedonian. Huh? Yeah, it was great. It was in our jury, in our competition. So I wanted to tell you, some people were here perhaps to work, but they come back and say, can you imagine such a culture? I said, yes, it is our common European culture in North Macedonia, as well as in Greece, as well as in Bosnia-Herzegovina, and so on. And so I think we have a lot to offer, but we should stay to our values. And as Erhard said, some in the European Union are not sticking to the values, isn't it? So we should not be more popes than the Pope, I think. We should accept you, bringing you in the internal market. It would bring a lot of courage for you. And then the governments must obey. They must do what they have to do. Becoming member of the internal market is something very interesting and very special, and they can no longer refuse, because it is your future and so on. I think we should go further before the Chinese, have bought everything here. Even bridges which are never ended and are very expensive, like in Montenegro, or marines or whatever. So I think we should really stay together. Only together we are a factor in the world. And so I think what you did here, it was great, really. I congratulate everybody who was in this organizing this event, and inviting even these two old peoples. And we came. It was my second trip after the pandemic. The first trip was to Banja Luka, but I didn't see Zurich. No. I was there as president of the Robert Schuman Institute, because I'm working as president of the Robert Schuman Institute. I'm president. I'm not working. I try to get the money for this institute, and I'm sometimes giving some lectures. So, and I think we did it because we wanted to be here, because I have a feeling the understanding what does it needed that these countries can come closer is now a little bit more spread. And even Macron has understood, I have learned, and I think everybody has time to learn and to be better informed later on. But I think, once again, as Erhard Elswert said, please be courageous. Open your mouth. And don't think, oh, if I say something, I never will have, whatever. No, please, then if you never have, then you come to us. But before you do this, please try to convince the politicians, they are paid for this, that they take care of your needs. Your needs. And you need also a bridge between the generations in your country, because a lot of the elderly people, I think they are a little bit fed up. They had the Yugoslav time, and then they hoped that the Union will accept them, that we didn't. So I think it is a strange situation. The mood is very different in the country. So please, take the elderly people with you and start to build your future, because you are living longer than the elderly people. Thank you very much. Be courageous.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Pak. I think this was an amazing introduction into the generation in dialogue. Now you will see my panelists joining. I would like to see if we have online Ms. N. Talinou, Secretary General of Franco-German Youth Office in Paris. She should be joining us online. But while we are waiting for her to join us online, let me introduce the panelists. Mr. Marko Gorgievski, Director of the National Agency for European Educational Programs and Mobility. Mr. Konstantinos Philippidis, President of Association of Active Youth of Florina, Greek Republic. Ms. Elda Korac, Secretary General of Youth of Social Democrats of Montenegro, Mr. Marko Boko, Public Relation and Youth Correspondent of the European Parliament Office in Croatia, and Mr. Filip Kulakov, International Affair and Policy Coordinator at the National Youth Council of North Macedonia. Thank you all for being here. I will just take a few more moments, because this should be an interactive panel. So I would like to ask my panelists to give 5-minute speeches, and after each speech, the audience, well, participants, will have a possibility to ask one question. So after each speech, one question for our panelists. So, Mrs. Talinou, can you please start the session? Thank you. Please unmute, we cannot hear you.
Oh, old trick. I'm very sorry about that. Okay. Well, that wouldn't have happened if I could have been here with you today. I wish I were with you. I was with you. This wasn't possible, so I am sitting in my office in Paris, which is not so exciting as being among you, but I'm very happy to be able to take part to this panel, and thank you for the invitation. So, dear Mrs. Beslik, fellow panelists, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Anne Talinou, and I am the General Secretary of the Franco-German Youth Office, which is an international organization created in 1963 and dedicated to the German-French youth organization, cooperation. During the pandemic of the coronavirus, international exchange and youth mobility came to a halt. The pandemic forced us to social distancing, even if we weren't so far away from each other. Online projects and conferences were the only way to stay in touch. The pandemic showed us, however, that we have to face a number of challenges when it comes to our future after the COVID-19 crisis. Now, in this post-pandemic area, we have to think about solutions for democratic and resilient societies. In this process, young people are in a special position, obviously because their future depends on them as well as their decisions. In this context, we would like to point out how important international youth cooperation is. The Franco-German Youth Office has been supporting projects for young people from France, Germany, and other countries for almost 60 years. Every single one of those experiences is playing a role in the global and durable process of peace building and reconciliations between nations. The founding of the FJYO goes back to the Franco-German Friendship Agreement, the Élysée Treaty of 1963. Its mission is to strengthen ties between German and French youth and to deepen their understanding about one another. Since 1976, the FJYO has expanded its activities on neighboring countries in the Central and Southeastern Europe, as well as in the Mediterranean area. Since 1971, trilateral projects are mentioned in our guidelines. This stresses the importance of Franco-German cooperation for the European idea and understanding. It reinforces the intention of including other countries in the political dialogue. After the fall of the Berlin Wall, relations with Central Eastern Europe were strengthened from 1991 onwards to accompany other countries in their transition processes, reinforce civil society and youth, as well as supporting the integration process into the EU. From 2000 on, following the Yugoslavian wars, exchange with the Southeastern Europe increased in order to encourage dialogue amongst young people in the region, to raise their awareness for a common European future and to support international and regional youth work. In this context, the Franco-German reconciliation process is an example a source of inspiration that can facilitate and promote mutual understanding. Since then, about 1,000 projects involving 12,000 people took place in cooperation with partners from Southeastern Europe. In 2020, many projects were cancelled due to the COVID pandemic. Partners were forced to think about digital alternatives. Projects had to be redesigned. The FGYO has numerous existing methods and tools available for partners now. In addition, new formats and pedagogical materials were developed so that young people could keep in touch despite contact restriction. At a time when borders have re-emerged alongside nationalistic ideologies, the FGYO, in cooperation with Cross-Border Factory and the Regional Youth Cooperation Office, RYCO, organized last year an online conference, Reboot Europe, on the future of Europe. As part of the celebration of the 20th anniversary of the FGYO initiative in South Europe, 100 young people from France, Germany, Croatia, and 6 of the RYCO members countries in the Western Balkans developed recommendations and submitted them directly online to the German State Secretary for European Affairs, Michael Roth, and the French ambassador to Germany, Anne-Marie Descotes. Today, in the post-pandemic era, it is all about restoring confidence in exchanges, in associations, at the local level, and above all, within families and with young people, so they can finally meet again. To assure this, we at the FGYO developed a recovery plan to relaunch youth cooperation. This plan is designed to last 3 years in order to guide the restarting process of young people exchanges across borders. The aim is to reach a level of mobility which can compare to the one before a pandemic by the celebration of our 60th anniversary in 2023. The partners of the FGYO will play naturally a key role in this process. We are perfectly aware that this post-pandemic era takes place in an unstable context, especially in the partner countries where the partner organizations were not necessarily supported the same way. Motivating young people to take part in European democratic processes is one of the main points of the recovery plan. Political and historical education and European experiences are crucial for the social engagement of young people, especially those with special needs. In this context, trilateral programs offer great pedagogical potential for intercultural learning, as they make it possible to better grasp different local concepts. The FGYO can also draw on the Conference on the Future of Europa in this regard. With this recovery plan, we hope to contribute to the recovery of the youth cooperation, as well as to strengthen them in the long term and help the young generations to regain their trust in democracy and the European idea. Thank you very much for your attention, and if there is any question, I will be available.
Thank you so much for being here with us, even though you're not present here. I would like to use the opportunity to see if anyone has a question. Not for now, but maybe later. But just to continue this conversation, I would like to ask Mr. Marko Georgievski to tell us something more about the voice and role of youth in creating and implementing the national cross-sections politics and creating of youth sustainability activities, because we are talking a lot about sustainability and the future that we are heading
to. Welcome everyone. First of all, thank you note to the organizers. And after these opening remarks from our speakers, probably not only to watch out what we are going to talking about here, but what we are going to do in the future, because these opening remarks was very important about how we need to follow our path in the future. First of all, I'm delighted to take part in this session with the longest name probably in this panel 3. And we have to admit that COVID-19 transformed the world and all development processes. Our daily routine have changed, our working environment have changed, and we have changed. So COVID transformed the world development and somehow enforced us to invent new ways to create and collaborate. Within the period of global pandemic, we had the opportunity to change the way we look on the ongoing processes and offer us a wider perspective on how to work and engage with young people. When we talk about youth engagement, we are obliged to talk about all youth. We have to ensure the diverse involvement of youth by enrolling everyone, including the most vulnerable groups everywhere. When I saw engage, I mean to create interventions in order to ensure that young people will not only have the seat on the table, but they will be able to meaningfully participate and share their voices within the process of design and implementation policies that have direct impact on their lives. As a director of the National Agency for European Educational Programs and Mobility, I'm highly committed to create more opportunities for all. This year, in order to introduce the new Erasmus program 2021-2027 for the next 7 years with double budget from the previous predecessor program, we organized presentation with more than 550 organizations and institutions that could be potential applicants for the program. The priorities of the program are underlying the importance of the development and youth engagement in 4 fields: inclusion and diversity, digital transformation, green agenda and fight against climate change, and participation in democratic life. In the spirit of creating youth sustainability activities and building long-term cooperation, one of the national priorities within the program is to increase the cooperation with Greece and to offer new opportunities for cross-border cooperation in the region of Western Balkans. My personal commitment related to ensuring long-term cooperation and offering sustainability of the development processes related to youth is to support building bridges between youth-led organization and policy or decision makers. Recently, within the national agency, I have appointed youth officer who is in charge to communicate with youth approaching to the agency and to whom all youth-related questions can be addressed. I strongly believe that in order to create sustainable interventions and long-lasting cooperations, we have to include the youth in the planning, implementation, and evaluation of development activities that have direct impact on their lives. The youth should be involved in all development processes and their voices shall count. Just to underline this one more time. There were, there are, and there will be challenges affecting us on personal level and the world of global level. At the end, in order to ensure sustainable and development, real interventions, and build long-term cooperations, I would like to recommend to remember that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to get far, go together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just check, do we have any questions for Marco? I honestly encourage everyone sitting in the audience to ask questions when given the opportunity. Thank you. Now I will, because we still don't have questions, I will ask Mr. Konstantinos Philippidis to tell us more about implementation of an effective strategy regulation of youth participation in the COVID and post-COVID era.
Thank you. First of all, I'm really happy that I'm among so demanding panel and of course so eager conference, because I know that a big issue talking at the end of a conference, it's also, it's not exactly an obstacle, but for me it's a matter of a family mode, let's say, more. So we can be more relaxed and we can say whatever we want to say in more convenient way. Anyway, what I wanted to say regarding the post-COVID area is that, and first of all, from the short discussion that we have during the workshops, is that due to the fact that right now we're living in the era of the fourth industrial revolution, of the new globalization, let's say, what we should expect from the youngsters in Western Balkans. To be honest, I don't like the word Western Balkans. I prefer the word Southeastern Europe, because if we say that the puzzle is missing, it's not missing the puzzle. It's the puzzle that it's the part that is fatally related to the future of Europe. So when we discuss about globalization and how we can overcome all the obstacles, I think that we should create in our communities, in our societies, a new culture, a new mentality that will not be just affected by external factors, but also we should include the elements, the vital elements of our society, in order to affect the world. So it's not just that we have to keep or follow the rules that external EU, USA, Germany, China, whatever country is coming from, the idea, but we must also include this uniqueness that Western Balkans have. Anyway, globalization, because globalization together with the transition that is happening, still happening in our area, and it's happening because we don't have a truly united European Union. And this transition, not just in Eastern Europe, Southeast Europe will stop, before European Union understands that we need a stronger political union, a stronger political relations, and what if we don't discuss right now also for a federal union? And the federal union should include also the countries of the missing countries of Southeastern Europe. Probably we heard yes. I've told you it's a relaxed, it's a really relaxed time. Anyway, for some reggae, maybe. Anyway, Mr. Eckhart, I think that he said that we need to demand for faster procedure in integrating Western Balkans. It's not matter just a political matter. It's matter vital for the lives, not just the people that live here in Balkans, but also the Europe. We need to do a new strategy, of course, a new strategy that includes this area, youngsters of this area, and of course will give the opportunities for you, for young people, to develop their achievements, their qualities here in the area, and not giving these features that have fight a lot in their life, in their countries, outside their countries. Anyway, we need this. We need to think more closely. We need to cooperate. We need a regional strategy. We need a regional effective strategy. We need to change our mentality on this, and to also, again, to conclude on this, we need to affect others in order to persuade them that we deserve, we need, and we demand a better future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think this is the perfect moment with the sounds of the music to ask our panelist, Ms. Korac, to tell us more about role of culture and art in a way of promoting young people and their activities.
Thank you, Elma. Anyway, we for Montenegro, we're speaking very loudly. Now I have a reason more, since in the background we have this sound check, which I really like because it's completely in correspondence with the thing that I will be talking about. And it's actually, when I was thinking about this topic of this panel, I was almost sure that no one will speak about art and culture, unfortunately, because it's not like highly ranked on agenda of any panels, which I previously was attending. And in this era of pandemic, especially me, who is working from 2015 in Cultural Center of Podgorica, of the capital, I was assured that people were loving to come to our cultural center and to listen and to watch wonderful theater shows, to listen phenomenal concerts, but all of these things were non-existing anymore during the pandemic era. So art and culture as a very powerful tool of youth empowerment, of youth cooperation, especially on the Western Balkans, it's really something that we should discuss more on the events like this, but in general in our communities and on a local level. I think that we generally forget how important it is to increase the access to culture and to make one kind of great environment for young people who are involved in arts and culture to develop themselves, to invest in their creativity and to somehow help them to develop the creative youth, actually. In this moment, while I'm here, in Podgorica, we are preparing one big festival, which I'm very proud of. And this summer, after 2 years of a break, we will have our 10th edition of the festival, actually of the International Camp of Chamber Music, which is gathering people from 50 countries of Europe. And to be honest, there is one interesting thing about this camp. It was not founded by Montenegrin artists. The German diplomat, Michael Schnur, was the person who came to Montenegro, and he said, okay, let's make some things together. Let's gather some great musicians. Let's learn from each other, and let's learn to each other about our culture, about our differences. I'm very proud that this year we are celebrating 10 years of this event, which is not anymore like small event. It's actually one big project that is really developing. In April, we celebrated 15 years of our Jazz Appreciation Month. Well, we had, Montenegro is not the country of jazz, to be honest. We didn't even know that we have such a wonderful jazz musicians, but since this period, when we were trying to imagine the world without music in the pandemic era, now we are thinking that how was to live without these kinds of festival in this period. This year we had a chance to organize it again, and it was wonderful because we had the ensembles from Albania, from Bosnia, from Macedonia. We had a lot of performers, and it was a great chance to gather people together. So I think these kind of events are actually a great opportunity to think about the chances that we can give to young people who are involved in arts and culture to develop their potentials, to make them communicate and to cooperate more, and at the end to make them build the little bit different dialogue in the region. Since the name of this event is Preспа Forum Dialogue, I really hope that this will not be just event ex cathedra, that we will be speaking and people in the audience will be just listening. I really hope to have your feedback about this and the other topics, because it will be very useful to make some kind of future plans of acting in this sense. So let's all hope that art and culture will have their best moments or better moments in the future period. Thank you.
Thank you so much. To continue with the musical background, I would like to ask Marko Boko to tell us more about the activities of the Youth Network and how this is all connected in a way to maybe what other panelists have already talked about.
Thank you. So you mean the activities of the European Parliament office in Croatia and what we do in the field of youth. So hi everyone. First of all, thank you for the invitation. For the last decade I've been active around the region and especially here in the North Macedonia within the youth field. I've been following the youth policy processes, so as I said, for 10 years. But this is my first time that I'm here representing an institution, so that I'm not here speaking on behalf of any youth organization. So in my previous life, I was the president of the National Youth Council of Croatia, and I was involved in many processes here through the Council of Europe, various processes. But what I'm happy about is that I know that Western Balkans is 6 countries, but I'm happy that we have here that we have been invited as someone coming from Croatia and even from Slovenia, because at my time, before the Croatia entered the EU, which happened 8 years ago on this day, so on 1st July 2013, we were also part of the Western Balkans. So I'm really happy that still we are being invited and that still you are being interested in what we have to share, but also I'm interested to hear what's happening here in order to bring it back home, but also to my institution on some higher level. What I'm happy about is that in my present life, in my present engagement in the European Parliament office in Croatia, I have an opportunity to work a lot within the youth sector. So basically I just switch the side, and not only in the youth sector but also in the field, in the sector of the culture, especially independent culture. And why is this important? During the pandemic, so the COVID-19 wasn't the only thing that hit Croatia. We had 2 big devastating earthquakes happening during the last year, and it hit the central and the north Croatia. So it also not only affected on our well-being in terms of economy, jobs, the freedom of movement, but also on the mental health of not only young people but also of the citizens in general. So what we as a European Parliament office in Croatia do is we are focused a lot on the youth, but not only in terms of speaking about youth and to youth, but in the practical things. In terms of budget, the most of our budget is focused on youth and on a cooperation with the civil society. So during the pandemic, we've been really active in the network of youth organizations, high schools in Croatia. We have a big network of 60 high schools coming from all parts of Croatia. These are young people from like 14, 15 years old to 18, 19 before they start their college. We've been quite active with them on a weekly basis. We've been checking on them. We've been offering them also some kind of support in this field, which is kind of tricky through the mental health discussions and everything what's going on the level of the COVID-19, but also on the level of the earthquake. We've been organizing various activities with the MEPs, with the other institutions, with other youth organizations covering these tricky fields. But regarding the culture, I'm really happy actually that this is happening, because in the last year and a half, this industry was really affected by the restrictions, by the measures, by the pandemic, and I mean, obviously things are opening. We will see how long it will last. So we were actually supporting the culture, especially in independent and non-institutional culture in Croatia. And how? We were actually engaging them through various channels, platforms, formats, mostly of course online, actually reproducing what they are producing. So the musicians, writers, muralists, painters, whatever, just in order to have them close to us, have us close to them. European Parliament on a policy level was really supporting a lot this industry, because as I said, it was really affected. It is still closed on some levels at the European Union level, It's not everywhere the good situation. For example, as in Croatia, we are having festivals now, concerts are happening, theaters are open, cinemas are open. So on some other levels, this industry is still closed. So what I said at the beginning of my intervention, I'm really happy that still we are being invited to these forums, to the Western Balkans. We do share language, culture. Again, tonight we have bands from all of the region that are also being present in Croatia, but also on the other EU member states. I'm glad to be here still to hear what you have to say, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the forum. I've used these 2 days actually to share many good practices and to hear what you are also doing in your countries. And I mean, our office of the European Parliament is, of course, focused on the work of the European Parliament in Croatia, but I think this is a good platform actually to extend this cooperation even beyond. European Commission is there, I know, but who knows what the future brings us. Today we've heard many times youth is not future, youth is also present. Youth was also the past, so I'm really motivated and happy actually to hear everything that's happening in the region, in these 6 countries, but also what I said, Balkans, Western Balkans or Southeastern Europe is more than these 6 countries. So yeah, let's continue our good cooperation, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco, so much. You can hear. Yay!
Yes.
Thank you. So, with the amazing sounds of the song, I'm inviting our final panelist, Filip Kulakov, to tell us more about current youth situation, youth unemployment, and youth policies.
Okay, thank you much, Roma, for the introduction. It's going to be difficult to follow all these speeches from my fellow panelists and to compete with the music, but you know, let's try and do it. It's a privilege to be sitting here considering the situation we've had the last year, let's say. The pandemic impacted societies worldwide, and young people in the Western Balkans, even in North Macedonia, were no exception. The same issues that targeted youth before the pandemic continued business as usual even after. However, the pandemic brought these issues more to the surface and made them more visible. The youth unemployment continued, the lack of quality in education in our region continued as well. There are still no effective mechanisms for meaningful youth participation. However, the pandemic also started the conversation on mental health among young people, and I'm proud to be part of a generation of young people that lead the conversation on mental health in our country in terms of creating a relevant policy response. Young people, although we're one of the most affected group from the pandemic, we're also one of the quickest ones to adapt to this new situation. We have completely utilized the digital space to continue our work successfully and share our experiences among youth policy, especially among relevant stakeholders in the region. This past year, we have strengthened our cooperation with national youth councils from the region, even umbrella organizations from the region as well. And although we have been collaborating for a year via online platforms such as Zoom, just this last month, we finally had the opportunity to meet. These kind of experiences allow us to create structure in our cooperation so we can learn from one another and No, that's fine. No, that's fine, that's fine. So these type of mechanisms allow us to put structure in the way we cooperate and we can learn from one another. Although we are divided with borders, our national contexts are very similar and we can learn a lot from one another in terms of policy. I mean, just earlier I had the opportunity to discuss with our counterparts from the National Youth Council of Serbia, and we discussed about the law on youth in our country. This is a positive example about how different stakeholders that are targeted by the same issue can come together and create a joint solution. The creation of the first law on youth in our country, now called the Law on Youth Participation and Youth Policy, was a long process that took over 2 years. However, the result was something that was mutually satisfactory to all parties involved. We had the youth sector involved, the political parties, we had the national authorities, as well as international partners involved in this process. Another thing that we can share with our counterparts in the region is our experience with the Youth Guarantee. This is also an example about how dialogue and cooperation among young people, youth organizations, as well as national authorities can collaborate together to create a good solution to a specific problem that target young people and participate in the implementation. The Youth Guarantee is a positive example about how the National Youth Council in Macedonia was involved in the implementation of the policy, but also in order to have these effective policies, young people need to be involved not only in the implementation, but also in the design of the policies. And I'm proud that we have implemented the EU's Youth Guarantee in our country, because North Macedonia is the first non-EU country to implement this policy outside of the EU. And even through our membership in the European Youth Forum, we have contributed towards advocating for reinforcement of the Youth Guarantee. Youth unemployment continues to be a problem even on European level, and we have shared our experience and expertise in this field to support the European Youth Forum to advocate for a more reinforced youth guarantee that will actually provide effective support to young people in Europe and will support them in their employment. And we're proud to be part of a European youth family that advocates for ourselves as well, and often reminds us that the European Youth Forum not only exists for young people in the EU, but also for those young people that are in Europe that are still not in the Union. And what does the future hold for young people? I think the pandemic gives us an opportunity and chance to take part in redesigning how our society works, and to assume a central part in the recreation. I am proud of our peers in the region because we have been constantly improving and pushing forward the role of youth in our society. We have started by demanding a voice. We have started demanding space for youth, and I think we're reaching a point where it's time for young people to demand power. We have been given seats at the table, but now we need to be given decision-making power. In order for the institutions to truly gain the trust of young people, which currently they do not have the entire trust from young people, not only in North Macedonia but in the region, young people need to be able to set the agenda on equal basis with policymakers. At the end of the day, young people will find a way out of this crisis. Young people have proven that they are adaptable, they can quickly adapt to different situations, and there is a way out of this. However, let's not encourage young people to seek this way out outside of the Western Balkans and seek better life in Western European countries and overseas countries. How can we do this? I wish I have the answer, but the first step is to include young people in policy-making processes. The institutions, if they want to stay relevant to young people in our region, they need to listen, and not only listen, but to implement the proposals that come from young people. Thank you.
I just have to say thank you so much to all of the panelists. You were the only panel with the live music, people, so cheers for us. And maybe they didn't hear us well, but they had most fun in this one. Yes, exactly. To wrap up the session, if possible, I would like to ask Marko Kostic to give us the final words.
To okej, a? Moram bliže ovako. Nisam navikao na mikrofon, iskreno vam budem. First of all, I have actually really hard tasks. So we had like 6 panelists and 3 distinguished key speakers, and I will try to be as short as possible. I know that you're all tired. It's very hard to sum up this amazing panel, but I'll try to tell you the key messages, and if I forget something, please just let me know later on and we'll discuss about it in details. So I'll start with Mr. Busek, a very inspirational speech, if you agree. He stressed out to speak only about the future. So that's the key message. Let's speak about the future. And actually, we probably noticed that he mentioned several times to be very aggressive, but not in a negative way, in a way that we should be aggressive and we should lobby for our interest. That only Western Balkans 6 altogether can achieve their goals. And he had that idea that only Western Balkans 6 can altogether get into the EU. He also said that the EU should not be strict to Western Balkans, and that actually EU needs us. And one of the reasons he said that because of the geopolitical reasons, and for example, we have, let's say, he mentioned cyber terrorism. So he said that actually Western Balkans soon should be part of the EU. Then I will go to Ms. Doris Pack, because I want to tell about her speech, because she said, let's do it. But she said that actually it's not possible that all together to enter in the VB6. So we have actually two different opinions on the same topic. She said that corruption is a big issue in the whole Balkans, that sometimes politicians actually, because of their own reasons, actually blocking process of cooperation and reconciliation among the citizens. And actually, she speaks about the brain drain, that we have smart, educated youth, but whenever they go to EU, they rarely go back. I'll go back to Member of Parliament Monika Zajkova. She said that that's actually one of the key messages, that we should build the friendship not only between the VB6 but among the youth. Dialogue is needed for building a culture of democratic, progressive and resilient societies. And actually what I very often mention, that we need as a youth tangible results. It's cool to have these agreements, but we need tangible results, and we need to have like a better life here. Now I'll go to the panelists. Ms. Anne Talino, if I pronounce very well. She spoke about the recovery plan, which is the focus of FAJ, or Franco-German Youth Office. Then she spoke about trilateral programs, and actually she mentioned that very interesting project, Reboot Europe. Actually, I would like to thank on behalf of RICO for helping us and for being for us for RICO. Then I will go, then Marco, you are aware that there is several Marcos here on the panel, so if I mix up sometimes, please just let me know. So Marko Georgievski, he stressed out the importance of creating opportunities for meaningful youth participation in decision-making process of different levels. Also, he spoke about Erasmus Plus priorities. Those are inclusion, diversity, digital transformation, environment, and fight against climate change and participation in democratic life. Konstantinos, actually, he spoke about the implementation of effective strategy regarding youth participation in the post-COVID era, and actually realizing that globalization affects every aspect of our life, we should build a youth strategy that will include a new formation, more coherent and efficient using new tools and technologies. Elida, she spoke about art and culture, which is something new, and actually she said that it's a powerful tool for bringing together the youth. We actually, Western Balkan 6 and governments should, they need to increase the access to culture, and actually with this we will boost the efficiency and creativity among the youth. Two more left. Marko Boko, actually he said very, I'd say like I was feeling flattering that Slovenia and Croatia are actually part of Balkans. So you didn't forget about us. Thank you for that. He said about that COVID and actually devastating earthquake in Croatia had influence on the youth, and that actually European Parliament is working on helping these youth to go through these mental issues, which is really something important, because mental issues is one of the most important issues that youth are dealing during these challenging times. And Now I'll talk about Philip. First, I want to congratulate you for these challenges you had during the speaking. But he spoke about the current situation with youth in North Macedonia during this post-COVID recovery period. He spoke about regional cooperation among Western Balkan youth and about actually national youth councils. I think I said it properly. And actually, they're talking about youth policies, legislation, experience with youth guarantee as an EU tool to combat with youth unemployment, and actually on perspectives on youth as how to utilize the post-pandemic and claim a central role in rebuilding society. And actually, the last thing that you mentioned, that it's important to give youth decision-making power, because only if you have decision-making power and if you're dealing with the things that actually are important for us, we can make this region better. Thank you. One more last. So we have 15 minutes break, 6 minutes break, and okay. At 6 we're coming back. We have last session. Okay. To conclude whole actually conference.
bear with us a little bit more. I don't hear the music in the background. I was expecting that this will be also cheerful. This is the concluding panel, but before, I would like to remind you that on the second panel, My Region, My Home, we had 3 working groups, and now I would like to invite the 3 reporters, Alba, Anna, and Andrea, to share with us the concluding from their working groups. Alba, please.
Okay, no, it's fine with the mic. Well, thank you for bearing with us and for sticking till the very end. I was prepared myself to rap while I was presenting, so, you know, I wanted to start like, vision, vision, bear with us, you know. But I'm grateful that they stopped somehow. Basically, we've been talking all day in terms of what are the challenges of young people in the region and how we can make sure that we'll listen to their voices. What really strikes me is this vision of, you know, joining our efforts together. And this is how we actually started in our group discussion. So first of all, we talked about our superpowers, and about our superpowers, what was common was the fact that we all wanted to get rid of, you know, differences, nationalism. We wanted to make our region better. And that coincides with the fact that young people want to tackle issues on a regional level. So as long as we recognize that our challenges are joint, so why are we not taking joint efforts? So that was one thing that I would take it as a vision for the future, that young people, you know, really want to see that happening. On another level, we also discussed the fact that we want to see the communication channels getting improved among the young people. And this is how we get to implementing joint actions. But for the communication channels to be improved, we also need connectivity to be improved as well. So if we're talking about traveling in the region, we need to make sure that our roads are getting better and we're getting the right infrastructural investments. And that also includes the railroads, which of course, you know, are fitting within the Green Deal and the green agenda at the EU level as well. I won't talk a lot about the obstacles. I mentioned nationalism, I mentioned geopolitics that highly affects our everyday life as young people. But I would like to single out, for example, the lack of ownership about what is being discussed and what is being, you know, decided. The lack of recognizing the fact that young people are actually a diverse group of people. So we're talking about 18 years old, we're talking about 28, 29 years old who have different interests, who are coming from different backgrounds and different profiles and areas of expertise. So we need to make sure that whenever we're consulting young people, we should bear in mind that they are also coming from, they represent a diverse group of people. And finally, in terms of obstacles, it was mentioned that there is, of course, on a narrative level, you know, a lot of nationalism and a lot of loaded discourse in terms of ethnicity, but we need to back that up with research and proper analysis. Recognizing all the obstacles in our working group, we came up with recommendations, of course. Of course, we want to make sure that these recommendations reach out to the decision makers and not only have them in an echo room somehow, like talking to each other, but to also, you know, reach the ones who are actually deciding on our behalf nowadays, at the moment that we're speaking. I hope we will be able to put them together and to send them to those and make sure that we lobby and that we advocate that this recommendation see the daylight anytime soon. I'll start with, first of all, to make use of the existing tools. So I just recently listened to a podcast in The Economist where they were advocating for the fact that less is more. So of course we have communication channels, we have working groups, we have different, regional forums where we discuss. So let's try to make them more efficient and make use of them. Another recommendation was to establish a database that is connected to, to have joint actions in the region. And the database would definitely help to actually spread the information of what is happening in one country so the other young people in another country in the Balkans can learn from their experience. And we discussed briefly about the youth law that is being discussed. For example, there was a case of Montenegro, right? And while in Albania, we just approved a youth law. Another recommendation was related to actually improving the exchanges at the university level. So we're very eager as young people to travel to other countries and European countries, but sometimes, this universities are, worse ranked than universities in the region, like the Belgrade University. So why not make sure that the Belgrade University shares its experience and its, and it's marketed in a way that people from the region want to actually study there, but also bring this experience to their own university. Another recommendation point is to, actually this is related specifically to the EU integration process. First of all, we need more transparency when it comes to EU integration processes, how our countries are dealing with that, and of course to spread more information, but also to include young people in this process, to engage with them, because young people are a very important stakeholder. We're living in the moment, and we shouldn't forget that young people living today are the ones to implement or to take care of the whole process in the future, and the ones who would be, advancing the process until we are part of the European Union. And related to the engagement of young people in the integration process, there was this really nice idea, and I strongly support it, to actually establish a chapter in the progress report specifically referring to the young people. We see young people being mainstreamed across different sections of the report, for example, unemployment or civil society, but we're not targeting young people as a group of interest, because we see that young people in the region are becoming, a topical issue. We're talking about brain drain, we're talking about unemployment, problems with the educational issues. So why not, have a specific section in the report that refers to them, to their problems, and this would also make sure that young people have a specific part where they can follow and they can lobby with their own governments. So they have a basis, they have some facts where they can start and advocate for those. And finally, regarding the advocacy part, there was this idea to somehow have these joint actions as a way to exercise peer pressure on the governments of the Western Balkans region. What does that mean? That means that at the moment where young people are advocating for one specific topic, like it was the case with environmental issues, but it can be related to educational issues, unemployment, etc., that means that if one government acts upon it, then this would be enough of peer pressure for other governments to act on it as well. So to introduce some positive competitiveness. I think that there was a lot of food for thought in our group session, and I really hope that in the future we'll be able to take these recommendations further and to see them being implemented. And I cannot stress enough the fact that now we need the do tanks, not the think tanks anymore. So I'm really up for some actions, and I really count on the rest of the young people that were today to actually see that happening. So thank you to everyone.
Thanks a lot, Alba, for providing these inputs. I can confirm that indeed we had a interesting and fruitful discussion because I was participating in the first working group. But parallel to this, we had 2 more groups, and I would like to invite Anna now to let us know what were the discussions in the second working group.
So thank you very much. Well, Alba, you said almost everything that we discussed about. So it's the same pillars, same plan, but okay, we have to go through this. So what we discussed in the working group number 2 was basically what keeps young people inactive and blocks their connection with their region. So we all agreed that it's a matter of multiple actors that all belong under the same umbrella that has to do with government and political will. We live in societies of hard, inflexible, and really complex bureaucratic structure that really prevents cooperation in all possible aspects, blocks digitalization, entrepreneurship, cultural exchange, infrastructure in many levels, educational, institutional, and so on. And finally, blocks youth advocacy and its visibility. So we have come up also with some ideas that look like mostly a vision, not so much like, discrete recommendations, as you said, but in order to smooth this feeling of disappointment among young people, maybe we need, first of all, united Western Balkans, which means connectivity in terms of facilitation of traveling across the borders, free transportation of trade, joint cultural events, exchange programs that will make them feel like it's truly their home in the region. And then we also need empowerment of local society, and this means facilitation of entrepreneurship at the local level, resolution of urban versus rural, urban versus rural differences, which weaken periphery and disappoint young people in small communities and do not allow them to feel, security in their own society. So they move to the center, and then maybe they get also, they go to the center, they usually don't have, work, they cannot bear the cost of living, the cost of housing, so they need to return or maybe choose another country. So we should give young people incentives in these terms, lower housing costs and improvement of their lives. And finally, we need, in terms of advocacy, a strong civil society organizations, and this means not only our voices to be heard, but also local governments being interested that our voices are heard and that we are in their audience as well. So it's, as Philip said before, young people know and will find their way, but we don't miss an audience, but we miss a stage. We miss this kind of infrastructure that will allow us to be more visible and more open to young people, and they make them informed about action. So more or less, I think this is it, and I also hope for solutions and improvements. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Anna. I came to my point that we sure have more similarities than differences, and we see that we had similar discussions. But now last, but definitely not least, I would invite Andrea to share with us the discussions from the third working group. Andrea, please.
So thank you very much. I have the honor of presenting you what the third group has discussed. It's not much far away, or not far away at all, from what we have already heard, but I will try to mention only the things that are maybe different or discussed in a different way. We have firstly discussed or try to be optimistic, and we try to answer the question of what are we proud of in our region? Why are we proud of being the citizens of the Western Balkans? And among other things, we said that we are proud of our rich culture, that we are proud of our history, which is in so many cases even internationally recognized. We also discussed that we like our food, that we like our beautiful nature, and also that we are really, really proud of our hospitality, because nowhere else in, let's say, Europe, we don't feel that warmly welcomed as we do in the Western Balkans. Then we even tried to discuss the fact
that our region is less developed than the rest of the Europe from a positive side. And we came to the conclusion that the fact that we live in less developed societies often affects our ambition in a fact that we sometimes or very often strive to even push beyond our limits, or what it seems to be our limits, in order to succeed and to reach maybe even bigger goals than young people in other societies that are more developed. And then we talked about what we are not proud of, or what should be changed, or not maybe changed but improved. And there we mainly discussed the mentality of our people. So firstly, we discussed that it is very, very important that we as citizens really have the sense of ownership of over our societies. And when I say, or when we say ownership, we meant not only the right to be asked when decisions are made, but also the responsibility to be the ones who are changing the reality. And then we also talked that our citizens usually are not aware of the good things or changes that happen in the region. Maybe it's part of our mentality, maybe it's something else, but we usually tend to focus on negative things, or more easily focus on negative things rather than those positive changes that happen all around us. And maybe if we change that perspective, then also other changes can happen after that. And we also discussed that it usually takes that some other person from, let's say, Germany or France, we had some people from these countries today, it takes that person to come and say, okay, look at the nature that you have, look at the competence that your young people have, and we are here, and yet we do not realize what we have here. Then we also talked and put a really big emphasis on education system. We talked, of course, and that's been already mentioned, that the formal education system really needs to be improved. But we also touched upon the non-formal education, and we also talked about unequal opportunities for those young people with fewer opportunities coming from, let's say, rural areas, young people with disabilities, etc. And we came to a conclusion that it is important to somehow integrate non-formal education into formal education so that it can be available to everyone equally. What else? I forgot. I think that's it. But if there's anyone from the group that I was a reporter of, please do add something if I missed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrea. I would also like to thank the 3 moderators of the working group, Blažen, Ilija, and Stefan. Bravo for everyone. Yay! You. Exactly. Thank you, Alva, and yeah, you all did a really great job, so thank you once again. In my name, also thanks to all the panelists. It was not easy always. We had music entertainment in the background sometimes, but well, no one said it would be easy, and I think that one of the points that we can have from today is that we need to fight even harder as young people for our voice to be heard. So no one said it would be easy, but we will fight harder and harder. I think it was a long day full with a lot of interesting discussions, and I hope that all of you will go back home with a lot of food for thought. But I don't want to impose my opinion. This is the concluding panel, and I would like to ask all of you to help me to conclude this. So I would ask first the technical support. We will use Mentimeter as a digital tool in order to collect all of your opinions. So I have just 2 questions. The first one is, if you have to describe Prespa Forum Dialogue in 1 word, what would it be? You need to log, so take your mobile phones, open menti.com, and just type the code, which is 82824425. And you'll see the first question. You have 3 options to answer. Please write only 1 word in each of the options. So you can write only 1, 2, or up to 3 words. And we see the first one, which is empowering. Intensive, yes. Hot. Okay, so if you have to describe Prespa Forum Dialogue in one word, what would it be? Just think about all the discussions, everything that we had since this morning, since 9 o'clock. Okay, we also have dynamic, fruitful, refreshing, good music, I think I saw somewhere. Cooperation. Okay, let's wait a bit. I think networking and inspiring are leading so far. We also have power. Someone is confused. I hope that's positive and that you will have time to... Aha, Anelia is that person. Understandable. A friendship, connections, great, secure, engaging. What else do we have? Opportunity, youth. I don't see the number of the answers, but let's see if someone is still typing. So far, networking, empowering, and cooperation are the words that you type the most. And I'm really glad to hear this, that you use this opportunity for networking, and that I hope that you will be even more empowered to engage after this Prespa Forum Dialogue. Okay, I don't see other words. Let's go to the second question. And here I need more than only one word from you. So I would ask you to type any insight you have from today, any interesting thought you heard today, or a message that was sent today that you heard, or maybe you want to send a message to everyone who is here. Also, while typing, I would like to ask if someone wants to come here and join me and say it in front of everyone, your thoughts. If you are not willing to type, please feel free to join me and say your thoughts about today's event. Okay, I already see some answers. Be loud, do tank, and think tank. Youth people are present, not a future. Youth are the future of the Western Balkans. More decision makers to listen to our discussions. Youth chapter in the report. Youth is the present. Put more emphasis to economic empowerment of young people. Youth will continue to fight. Our words will be heard. If we can just scroll down. Lack of meaningful youth participation. We need to learn what dialogue really is. Someone says, love you all. Do it right now. Fight for the young people. Youth events should not be side events. I agree with this one. Big applause for this one. Yes, we need to fight for main event to be a youth event. Exactly. Young people should speak, not only be heard. Brain drain should be concretely addressed as soon as possible, only talking about it would not solve it. We have a few more. Can you please go down? Okay, someone says, use the competitive advantage in economy of the region, specialize in 2-3 sectors. Many young leaders with determination to make a better world. Decision makers should be present during the whole event. So I really hope that these messages will be seen and heard from the decision makers, and that next time we will have this youth event as a main event, not as a side event. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. Once again, does someone want to come here and share your opinion? Or ask questions, exactly. No? Okay, I would like to thank you who are really present here as the bravest and tireless people who stay towards the end. And I would like to invite now Metodija Stojčevski as a co-organizer to wrap up and close this event. Thank you in my name.
Thank you, Maria. Dear friends, in previous time when I was invited to close the conference or to close the event, I was really sad. Why? because we create new partnerships and we came to the end, new friendships, and we came to the end, and now we should leave. But on this event, all of you, I know you from previous. And now I'm happy that we realize one more successful event, and we will be friends, partners, and we will cooperate in the future. Thank you for this fruitful day. Thank you for the recommendations. Tomorrow I will be reporter on the main event in Ohrid, and I will present to the decision makers, to the politicians, conclusions from this panel, and I would like to kindly ask Alba, Anna, and Andrea to send to me the recommendations, and I will prepare one small presentation for tomorrow. I have only 3 minutes to present to them what we did today. Thank you once again for your coming, and you know you are always our dear guests to be participants on our events. Thank you.
So let's have one group photo, not with all the politicians, but we, as we remain here, the last survivors. And dinner is at 7:30, the concert starts at 8. There is a VIP arena. I don't know if we are part of the VIP arena, but we will see. If anyone has questions about the transportation for tomorrow, come to me in private. Thank you.